Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner has admitted she underpaid stamp duty on the purchase of her seaside flat in Hove, despite claiming last week that she hadn't done anything wrong. And that's led to calls from the Conservatives for her to be sacked immediately.
Well, we're joined now by the Education Secretary, Bridget Phillipson. Good to speak to you this morning. We've got lots of important things to talk about, haven't we? But this is the story of the day. You were, as late as 3 or 4 days ago, defending Angela Rayner, I presume, speaking about what you knew at the time. Let's have a quick look. You must feel a bit miffed or a bit silly that it turned out that during that period she was actually having to seek extra counsel, and it turned out she hadn't done it all properly.
Hello, good morning. I mean, I set out my understanding at the time. It was also Angela Rayner's understanding that she'd acted in good faith, that she'd paid what was necessary. But because of all of the discussion that was taking place, she took the decision to seek further advice. That advice came back and concluded that there was additional stamp duty to be paid. Angela admits, therefore, that she made a mistake in what she did originally in terms of the payment. But also, it was necessary for Angela to seek the permission of the court to lift a court order that related to her family. She's now spoken very openly, giving a full statement and setting out the position. And she's referred herself to the independent advisor who will look at all of this, that it's right that we are held to high standards as ministers, and it's his role to look at all of the evidence and to come to a conclusion. Especially
as she's one of the people that's been very vocal over the years at holding others to high standard. But you must be a different person to me. I would have got on the phone and said, why on earth did you not look into this before, when myself and others and the Prime Minister were going out with confidence in you and you hadn't checked?
Look, I think, as Angela has said, some of her family arrangements are complicated, and, you know, she has, you know, family needs that can be quite challenging for her, given, as she's spoken quite openly about the needs of her son. So I, you know, presented the position as I best understood it, but rather than thinking about any of that, I can tell your viewers that what I've been focused on is how we deliver great life chances for children, more childcare for parents, and that's why I'm speaking to you today from one of the nurseries that's open actually just this week and is welcoming children in this morning, and that demonstrates how you've got a Labour government that's on the side of working people, putting more money back into parents' pockets and delivering for children. That's what I've been working on the last couple of days.
The reason why we, though, are thinking that you should be upset is when you made those comments on Sunday, Angela Rayner had already gone to seek new advice because she was worried there may be a problem. And what you said was unequivocal at a time when clearly Angela Rayner was equivocal. And that just feels like a misjudgment, in the same way as not having got the advice in the first place from a senior counsel. I mean, to be honest, Bridget, she slightly hung you out to dry on Sunday.
She set out her position as she understood it. She obviously took advice at the point at which she purchased the property. That's what everyone has to do when you buy a property. But for the avoidance of doubt, she took further expert advice that concluded there was more stamp duty to pay. I think that's the right thing to do. I think for the avoidance of doubt, if you've got any concerns, she wanted to make sure that she was fully compliant with all of the rules. She got that advice, and she's in the process of setting it straight with the relevant authorities.
You're handling this very calmly. The problem is, you know, is you're here this morning trying to say good things that you believe you've done for the country as you're in your position as Education Secretary. And you will know that people watching are thinking, whatever the personal circumstances of Angela Rayner, for which, in terms of her family, I think everybody would have a lot of empathy and want to support her on, it feels like one rule for one and one rule for another.
Look, I understand what you're asking of me, and, you know, for the Prime Minister, adherence to high standards really matters. It's why we've now got that independent process that's underway. But I think lots of your viewers this morning will also be trying to juggle work and family life, thinking about dropping off their kids at school. And what I'm determined to do as Education Secretary, and what we as a government are doing, is making that easier. So the school I'm speaking to you from this morning, just from this September, is opening a nursery for children. They'll be shortly arriving. It'll get a bit noisier pretty soon, I imagine. But that's about making it more convenient so that parents have got one drop-off, that we've got really high-quality early years education. And alongside that, the expansion of government-funded childcare hours from this week will mean that parents are saving £7,500 a year. So that's more money back into parents' pockets.
Yep.
It's because this government backs working people. We want children to succeed. And I'm also announcing today a further expansion of more nurseries that will open from next year, because we think there's even more that we can get underway and because there is even more that's required to make sure that our children are set up to succeed.
I don't want to be the bearer of bad tidings, but you know that providers are saying that they haven't got the money to make this work and they haven't got the staff to fund these ambitious ideas.
And we've been working really closely with the sector on this. We've seen a big increase in staffing and there's more to come. But I would say that from next year, we're investing £9 billion in early years education for our children. That is a significant investment. And the reason that we're doing it is because we believe that we make the biggest impact in children's lives when they're young. I mean, all of the evidence supports that, but also I think your viewers will know that as well, that if we support families more, we give parents more help, we give children a great start in life, that's good for them, it's good for all of us. And we have put in place extra support to allow providers to expand provision. So there's extra money even on top of that £9 billion, which I think you'd acknowledge is a phenomenal sum of money. But it's the right thing to do because it supports children. Actually, it supports our economy as well, because it can often be a struggle for parents to juggle work and family life. And what we've seen through this expansion of childcare is that more people will be getting back into work, but also able to work the hours that best suit them. One
other issue on your responsibilities as Education Secretary. We had yesterday on the programme the mum of murdered Brianna Jai, Esther Jai, launching her campaign for a legal ban on phones in schools, which she wants you to implement. Let me just play to you what Esther Jai said to us yesterday.
It's only 11% of secondary schools that are actually enforcing an effective ban where they either don't allow phones on site or they ask the children to lock them away. It's 79% of secondary schools that operate the lowest form of ban, which is an out-of-sight policy, which means that children are expected to keep the phones in their pockets and to not look at them for 6 hours, which even as an adult, I would struggle with that. Absolutely. So we're setting children up to fail.
Esther Jai is saying that the guidance at the moment doesn't go far enough. Lots of schools aren't enforcing either not having mobile phones on site or them being locked away during the school day. She says, unless you actually make it a statutory requirement, the change won't happen in schools. Is she wrong about that?
So I did see the interview and I've met with Esther in the past to talk about this, but also to talk about the unbelievable trauma that she and her family have been through. An unimaginable ordeal, and you know, she's shown remarkable bravery in speaking out and in campaigning for greater safety for children. I pay tribute to her. I completely recognise the importance of what she is saying. My view, however, is that already schools have the powers to make sure that phones are not causing disruption. That is in the vast majority of cases. That is already the situation. Phones have got no place in the classroom. Head teachers, school leaders have got the powers to remove phones from children if they see them using them during the school day where they shouldn't be. There can sometimes be a small number of cases where children need to retain access, for example, for healthcare devices that might be connected to a mobile phone, but that's a small number of cases. In the vast majority of cases, we want to make sure that schools are enforcing that we don't see mobile phones disrupting lessons, because I think everyone would understand. Of course, it can be, it's distracting, it has an impact on children's learning, and I'm confident that schools have what they need to enforce that and to make sure that children are focused on their learning, not thinking about mobile phones.
Is your worry that if you make it a legal requirement that actually takes away accountability and leadership from head teachers, they've got to take control of this themselves?
Schools have already got the flexibility to find the right way of doing this themselves. So some schools have taken the decision to insist that phones are locked away at the start of the school day. Some school leaders tell me they wouldn't like that approach because it will be quite time-consuming for staff. But the vast majority have already got a policy in place where phones cannot be used during the school day. It should not be causing disruption. And schools will also have behaviour policies in place that I think parents watching this will recognise, that if children are found to have their phone, often consequences like the phone being removed, a detention at the end of the day. I think school leaders are the people that are best placed to manage that day to day.
Thank you. I think at some point we'd like to talk to you more widely about the use of mobile phones for our young people in and out of school. But thanks for joining us today.